Hi, this is Doug Renstrom with ROI Training. Some people say you shouldn't run databases in a Kubernetes cluster. That doesn't make any sense to me. Nearly all of our applications need databases. In this video, I'll show you how easy it is to install a database in a Kubernetes cluster. Let's switch to the demo machine.
Okay, welcome to this fifth of 8 videos on deploying applications to Kubernetes. In this demo, we're going to continue on with our events application program, and this time we're going to learn how to deploy the database server for our application. Now, we want to make deploying the database server as easy as possible, so we're going to use a package manager designed for Kubernetes called Helm. Right? So here I am at Helm's homepage, helm.sh. Notice it's the package manager for Linux. So a little bit like using apt-get if you are a Linux person. So if I wanted to install a database on a Linux virtual machine, I would go in and I would type apt-get update to update the packages, and then I would type apt-get install, and then the name of the database that I wanted to install. Right? But anyway, using Helm is very similar to using apt-get or Homebrew or some other package manager you may be used to. But anyway, if you want to use Helm, they have this concept of a chart. So a chart is a pre-configured package that includes all the configuration for deploying an application with Kubernetes. So they have a lot of pre-built packages inside their database of charts here. You could also build your own charts if you wanted to deploy your applications with Helm. And then so once we go in here, then we can search for the application that we want to deploy. So maybe we wanted to deploy a Jenkins server, so we could search for Jenkins, and then there are a number of pre-built charts from various companies and organizations for deploying Jenkins, and you could select one of the packages, and then this gives you some information about how to use the chart, and then parameters for the chart, and so on. And then if you want to make it simple, there's a little button here called install, and then this gives you the commands that you would use in order to install that particular Helm package, right? Or if you wanted to search for Kafka or something, whatever program you want, search for it here, select the chart, and then click the install button, and it'll give you the commands that you need for that. Well, we wanted to install a database, and I decided to use MariaDB as the database for my events program. So if I go here and search for MariaDB, and then I installed the one from Bitnami, so that's the chart that I selected, and then click install, and then here it's giving me the basic commands that I can use to install MariaDB using their chart. Now, the one thing to note, I kept it very simple with just all the defaults for parameters, but in a more complex deployment, you might want to have a little bit more control over things like how the passwords are generated or the size of the database, things like that. Anyway, if you read down through it, just note that there are many different parameters that you can add to your deployment if you want to have greater control over how the database is deployed. Again, I was happy with all the defaults, so I didn't set any parameter values. Right? But anyway, so how is it that we're going to run it? So again, if I go back here to my code editor, if I type kubectl get pods, notice at this point nothing has been deployed, and I have a little cheat sheet with my database commands. So here are my 2 commands to deploy the database. So notice it's Helm repo add, and then this is the Bitnami repo. If the repo has already been added, it'll just skip it. So there's no harm in running that over and over again. And then here's where we do the actual installation. Helm install database server, etc. And that's the chart that I'm using, Bitnami / MariaDB. So let's copy those commands and put them into the clipboard, and that will install my database server, right? And if you notice here, like I would encourage you to do this, gives you instructions on how you can connect to it. Maybe the one thing we will look at is that password is automatically generated, or a password is automatically generated for the root administrator. So if we want to see what that password is, we can just copy this command right here. Remember, we saw in an earlier video that password is stored as a Kubernetes secret. So if we copy this command here, and let's run a clear, and then we'll say echo space, and then that command, that'll give us what our auto-generated password is. But anyway, that installs the database. And then if I go here and say Helm list, it says here, these are the applications that you have deployed with Helm. If I want to get rid of my database, then I just do Helm uninstall and the name of the deployment, in my case, database server, and that'll uninstall everything. And then you can reinstall it. Now, one little debug tip, whenever you install a database using Helm, a database has what's called a persistent volume claim. The persistent volume claim is what reserves disk space within the cluster for the database that you're going to use. So I've installed my database with Helm, and that persistent volume claim was created. However, when I uninstalled it, the persistent volume claim was not removed, right? So that's left behind. So if you do a kubectl get PVC for persistent volume claim, you'll notice here that the disk space that was reserved was not deleted. Now, I don't think that's a bug. I think that's how they want it to work. However, if I don't delete the persistent volume claim and then I try to reinstall the database using the same name, it's going to generate an error for me because it's going to try to create the persistent volume claim that already exists using the same name. So that's going to give us an error in the configuration. So it's no big deal. It's just in addition to running Helm uninstall database server, then run this command, kubectl delete persistent volume claim, and then the name of the claim, which is listed right here. So we can grab that and then paste that in. And now that persistent volume claim is gone. And now if we wanted to reinstall our database, it would just be a matter of running the install command again. Okay. Anyway, that's a little bit about Helm, and that's how we installed the database for our events application. Join me again for the next video in our series on deploying applications to Kubernetes. This is Doug Renstrom with ROI Training.